Okay, so depending on what generation you are, you're going to know our next guest for different acting roles.
Maybe you know him as Tony DiNozzo Sr. from the CBS show NCIS. He was on that show on Tuesday.
Or maybe you know him as number 2, one of my favorite roles from the Austin Powers movie.
And he played, of course, the well-to-do amateur detective Jonathan Hart in the TV show Heart to Heart,
which was a staple in my house. Go back even farther in time, and maybe you remember him from the Pink Panther movies. Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun.
Or the 1953 version of Titanic, where he played a 20-year-old tennis player on the ill-fated ship. The great Barbara Stanwyck starred in that film.
He's worked with many of Hollywood's most glamorous actresses over his 70-plus years in the business.
And his new book, I Loved Her in the Movies, is paying homage to them.
All right, we welcome Robert Wagner, or RJ, to Better Connecticut. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love that introduction. That was great.
That's all. Our producer, terrific. Tracy, she has followed your career as much as the both of us have. First of all, how do you look so good? Is it because of all the women that you've worked with?
No, it's the lighting I've got here. It's terrific. Can you imagine, you know, I was listening to your introduction. You know, I worked for 60 years, and I'm known as number 2.
Isn't that great?
A little difficult.
Yeah. Well, just what an incredible career. But how did the idea for this book come about?
Well, you know, I had obviously the opportunity and blessed to have met all of these women, and most of them in the book, and to have worked with them. And this is the 3rd book that Scott and I have done together, and we started to talk about these wonderful ladies, and then we started to put it down on paper a bit and gave it to our literary agent, Morn Shanklow. He took it to the last publisher that we had on our last book, Viking, and Rick Cott was the editor of that, and he responded very positively. So we went ahead and we started to write it, and it's been a real joy, and it's a tribute to all of these wonderful, wonderful women that we've all seen for so many years, and I was just so lucky to be able to have worked with them and known them, and they were fabulous.
We'd love to talk about some of the Connecticut connections that are in the book, and we'd like to start with Rosalind Russell. Could you tell us a little bit about her?
Yes. Well, I knew her, and I write about her in the book, obviously, as you mentioned, and she lived down the street from us, and she also, I had known her over the years, and she was a very, I mean, she was so talented, a very special lady, very unique. She was a very unique actress, and her quality was very unique. And of course, my late wife, Natalie Wood, worked with her in Gypsy, and you know, we had known her over the years, and she was just a very special lady. As a matter of fact, I was a pallbearer at her funeral, and I had such great respect for her. She was absolutely so talented, so special, and maintained her individuality, which is very difficult to do.
I want to ask you about Kate Hepburn, and interesting because you said that part of it was women like her had this awareness about maybe they shouldn't have children.
Well, you know, I met Katharine Hepburn through Spencer Tracy. I had the opportunity of doing 2 films with Mr. Tracy, and I never worked with her, and I always wanted to. You know, I always wanted to work with Katharine Hepburn. It would have been a thrill. She was, she knew exactly, you know, what she wanted, and she was very secure in her being. And you know, one of the things that Scott and I write about in the book is that these women gave up so much. You know, they gave up the. It's not very easy to be, it's very difficult to be a woman to begin with, I believe. And I think that to have a career like Katharine Hepburn's and to have the responsibility of maintaining that and being a lover and being a wife and being a mother, those are all very, very difficult things, and a lot of these women gave that up for their profession.
Can you speak to us about Joanne Woodward, another Connecticut icon?
Yes. Oh, Joanne, yes, she's a dear, dear friend of mine, and I love Joanne very much, and I loved Paul. We did several pictures together, They were the most wonderful couple, and they gave so much to everyone. And Joanne is one of the most special ladies that I've ever known. And I did her, I think it was her second film. And we became friends, and our children grew up together, and she's one of the finest women I have ever known.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And the book, we can read even more.
Thank you.
To all the girls I've worked with before.
Hey, that's good. I like that.
Have your people call his people.
I loved her in the movies. It's available now in stores and online. Thank you, Mr. Wagner. It's a pleasure to have you on Better.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
You too.
You too.